before entering the new word 4.0, actually this is for the hard part because we must entering the lunchtime, the challenge one. Okay, Bapak Ibu, from the first session, we learned a lot actually, Peter, because we learned from the Hugh and also Simon, how we embracing the new culture in place to engage, to drive through the strategy, also how to execute in the right place. Bapak Ibu sekalian, in the second session, actually we will learn how to learn about digital horizon, pioneering by insurance journey of the transformation. Behind me, with the smart guy here, we will see and hear how income insurance has transformed from traditional social enterprise to digital leader insurance in Singapore. Actually, Peter, I may congratulate you because you take the first lead to execute it. Bapak Ibu boleh tepuk tangan dong untuk orang ganteng di sebelah saya ini. Actually Bapak Ibu sekalian, the real key example to transformation journey and success story of income insurance in adapting to technology, digitalization, launching tailored digital and technology-driven solution for Singaporean. Disruption insurance actually is what they believe. Our speaker of this session, Peter Tay, as we already mentioned by Scarlett, is the Chief Digital Officer of Income Insurance. As the Chief Digital Officer, actually Peter oversees income insurance digital transformation to accelerate the company digital growth strategy. He is also General Manager of Business which drive and enable innovation, the strategy for organization. And most recently, he has been leading strategy digitalization initiative to drive embedded financial for ecosystem partnership in Singapore and to the region through income insurance as the service model Hive by Income. Bapak Ibu, while we hearing what Peter will say, please again to scan barcode and you may typing the question, maybe curious you want to ask to Peter. Bapak Ibu, please give the big applause to Peter. Peter, the stage is yours.
Hi, good morning everyone. My name is Peter. Very happy to be here today to share some of the digital transformation journey as well as the lessons that we have learned with you. I have only about 30 minutes, but hopefully I could provide as much as I can. I'll just get going. Is the slide showing? Okay, so maybe just a quick introduction of the income insurance. Just do a very quick one. We started in Singapore in 1970. We are a composite insurer. So in Singapore, income is able to write both life as well as non-life insurance. We write about 4.5 billion Singapore dollars gross premium yearly, and we are a company of about 47 billion in assets. We are rated AA- by S&P, and obviously over the last couple of years, we have invested, and we are hoping, right, to be the leader in the world of digital insurance. And hopefully the subsequent slides, I will be able to share with you some of the lessons that we have learned, as well as a lot of use cases which we are running currently in Singapore, and hopefully it will be relevant to you. Okay, so we started the digital transformation journey probably about 7 years ago in 2017. And at that time, to be really honest with you, we are really worried about all the tech players that's coming to Singapore. And we think that they will be there to take away our lunch, right? Because these are the tech players with big customer base, with aggressive acquisition, and they begin to sell more than what they originally set up to do. You begin to see a taxi company doing food. And after doing food, they became a bank, right? So I think this is where we think these services are going to merge very, very quickly. And as an insurer, we need to have the capability and the ability to respond to this challenge, right? So how we think about this when we first started, we wanted innovation and digital transformation to really help us to solve some real problems. First, the changing behaviors of the consumers is happening everywhere. Today, as we speak, post-COVID, nobody order food the same way as they do 10 years ago. Today, in a bank, banking services, I think we hardly walk into a branch. Most of the time, we do everything on a mobile phone. And you just take that consumer behavior as the key to think about your current life business, your current non-life business. I think you realize that the traditional insurance product will have a gap. The gap of the ability to reach a consumer of the digital age. I think this is where we start to think, how can we solve this problem? The second main problem that we hope to solve through digital really is about the rise of the ecosystem, which I mentioned earlier. And more than that, I think traditionally for life insurance, I think one of our biggest partners that give us the revenue really is the bank. It's a traditional bank. But over the years, you start to see the rise of the digital banks, right? Not just in Singapore, I think in Indonesia and in Thailand, a license was being issued, etc., etc. But if you think about it, how are we going to sell a traditional life insurance to a digital bank customers? I think today there are not many use cases. There might be some digital bank that's doing this. A lot of time will be on non-life business. But I think this would be a great opportunities for insurers to think about and for insurers to capture on. And of course, I think all innovations and all digital transformation is quite pointless if it's not going to give you a business impact. But I just want to qualify, and I think versus what previous speaker has spoken about, in a very short near term, if you think this is going to give you the bullet to give you the profitability, I think you cannot be more wrong, right? However, I think business impact can be seen in many forms, right? First and foremost, are you able now to reach a customer segment that you otherwise couldn't reach? Second, are you able to then tap on the customers that has been already acquired by a digital ecosystem platforms, right? Because they know the customers the best. And if now you have the digital capability to work with these partners, you then have the ability to serve up your digital insurance solution via the platform to the customers. And you can continue to be the insurance manufacturer. But now you have the capability to reach out to the audience that you otherwise couldn't reach. Last but not least, I think if you want to think about in the insurance industry, if you want to think about new revenue streams, the only way to get that is you have to do something different. If you do the same thing, there won't be a new revenue, right? So I think it's on this basis, I think we set forth the journey to really try, right, to make digital insurance really acceptable and able to drive us the new revenue stream, the new customer segment, and hopefully in the medium term to the longer term, that profitability will flow as well because you start to acquire customers. Now, I'm just going to spend slightly more time on this because this one slide will probably sum up the work we have done over the last 6 years in income. Of course, over the last 6 years, nobody expected the COVID to happen, and it kind of lasts longer than we thought we should. But anyway, this has been the platform plus capability that we have developed over the last 6 years. And I'll just run it across very, very quickly. So in Singapore today, we have built a platform called Snack. Snack basically runs very small, stackable, bite-sized insurance. And it runs both live as well as non-live. It doesn't matter. To us, we're quite agnostic about that. It is the platform. It is the capability that it can deliver. What this platform does is we basically reduce every insurance to really a bite size. If you imagine, I can issue one insurance policy at, say, 1,000 rupiah, for example, right? So in Singapore, we reduce it as small as, say, 10 cents Singapore dollars. And what we do is we attract customers who understand the importance of insurance, but unable to pay a very traditional premium, unable to commit to a long-term commitment of what a traditional life insurance would require. So what we do is basically we allow the customers to start to stack these policies every day, every activity they do. So today in Singapore, again, don't worry about the product. Think about it in terms of capability, in terms of the platform. Today in Singapore, you can take a train ride, tap your card, I can issue you a policy invisibly, and it just goes into your insurance portfolio. And the customer continue to stack these micro stackable policies. Every time you buy a cup of coffee, I have the ability to serve you another policies. Even this could be linked to your Fitbit, your Apple Health. Every time you take 5,000 steps, I can issue you a term life policies. That is all at the consent of the customers. And what this does is very, very simple. It goes back to the consumer behavior that we are trying to address. Consumer today now wants control. And what this does is the consumer literally, they can decide, every day I'm going to take a train to work, and I don't mind parting 20 cents just to buy a critical illness. And over time, as I go about my daily lives, my critical illness coverage will continue to go up, right? And I'll start to build up a sizable insurance portfolio protection. Now, what this does very differently from the traditional way is that the customer no longer have to make that big decision right at the start. And the customers do not need to pay upfront the heavy or the high premium that is required. If you think about us, or even just this room or beyond, right? If you take away 20 cents and start building up a critical illness, you probably can't quite feel it, right? But over a period of time, obviously, you can cube up quite a substantive coverage, right? And every policies we cover for 360 days. And the breakthrough that we have done here is you don't even need to renew your policy. Let the policy lapse, because every day you're adding on new policies. And the policies are just like Lego. It just stack, right? And you can do more. You can say, I decided to do $1. A week later, I change to $2. I can decide, maybe I take a pause. I have enough. So it's really up to you, right? So the beauty of this really is to give the control back to the consumer, decide how they want to build this portfolio and how they want to consume insurance. So again, like I said, think of it as a platform, because this is what we do and this is how we design in Singapore. But this capability, if you think about it, say in Indonesia, how can this be used to benefit your customers? How is the lifestyle that is different here? Maybe instead of tying it to a Visa card, maybe the card is not so widely used here, because in Singapore, credit card is the most, I think, frequently used payment. Maybe it can be tied to a wallet, right? You just need a source of funds, and you just need an activity to tell me that I'm ready to consume the next insurance. And one good thing is that insurance has always been a very difficult product, right? To sit down with an agent or to make a very conscious effort to think about how are you going to commit yourself to this long-term protection. I think what this does really changes the way we look at insurance. Today, in Singapore at least, I have 4 products. Basically, I've designed a term product, a personal accident product, critical illness product, and an investment-linked product that's on this platform. And this can be consumed at the smallest denominator at the customer wish. I'll move on very quickly. The second one, again, is a capability that we built up. We call it embedded. Embedded insurance is very simple. You think about it almost like a Netflix of insurance, right? Every month, I'll charge you a fee. You buy a pack that has certain protection that's within it. And very simple, it goes in SML, basically small, medium, large, not too complicated. If you're okay, you subscribe to it. And why is it embedded? Because we start to work with partners who has a monthly billing relationship with the customers. And once we embed this insurance into it, it goes into the complete lifestyle of consumer again. They don't have to think specially, how do I fund this premium, or if I have to commit long term. Because, as I said, this is subscription. This is like a Netflix. You can turn it off tomorrow if you want to, right? So that's how we think about, and later on, I'll just very quickly run through some use cases with you. The third one, we call it D2C, basically direct to consumer. This is probably the most common, if I would say. Of course, every insurer does it differently. This is basically your website, your apps, where you put on a term insurance, you put on any insurance that you think you can sell directly to the consumer without any advisory. Now, this is a space where it's not so much about how many products you put up. I think a D2C platform works when you have a good data model, you have a good data analytics model behind it, you're doing the right digital marketing, the right targeting, the right segmentation, and then it is a competition out there because everyone is doing this, right? In Singapore, obviously, I do it for both live as well as non-live, and I must be very upfront. I know this is a live audience. In non-live today, we are doing, I think, very good work there because product like motor, travel, and all this, everybody does it on the website. Everybody DIY. They just go in, buy, and they travel on the app, right? So today we are the largest travel and motor in Singapore, and we're doing very well through the D2C platform. For life, I think it has not reached that stage, and that brings me to the fourth vertical, which is what we call an omni-channel platform. This platform was developed during the COVID period. We think that in the medium term, basically in the next 3 years or so, we think the life insurance, while it digitized, it will go into this, what we call bionic, right? Probably half digital and half human. And how do we think about this? Even as I speak to all the experts here in this room, I'm very sure all of you have a different view about omni-channel, and all of you will own the omni-channel strategy in your organization. And what I'm sharing here is our view, just purely our view, and how we think omni-channel looks like. And hopefully later, again, I have a video to share, and hopefully you can see how that's how we think about it. Okay, so as I mentioned about digital bank earlier on, in Singapore, at my parent company, NTUC, we actually own a digital bank called Trust, which is a collaboration with Standard Chartered. And because of the digital transformation work that Income has done, right, we actually have the ability, on the launch of day one, when the Trust Bank was launched, the digital bank was launched on day one, we already started issuing insurance. If you look at all the digital banks in the world today, I think no digital bank will start off with selling, monetizing insurance, and this comes much later, right? They'll go through the acquisition, they'll start taking in money, they'll start, setting out the CASA, and then they start loaning out the money first, right? But we have the ability to do that is because today our entire platform and capabilities is built with that intention right 6 years ago. It's how do we work with a digital bank, right? How do we then able to sell our insurance through a bank? And today, this is a very simple example. The insurance product is not complicated. We basically sell a family plan on personal accident. But how we do it is we embed it within the journey of a card acquisition, and this is charged on a monthly basis, like a subscription, right? And the customers can start, stop anytime they want, right? I think we see much early on upon launch, we probably see about 17–18%, but on a stable basis, I think this is about 10% conversion rate, which we think is a decent number, right? And that starts to the point where this capability has to be developed upfront. If not, when the opportunity arises, and then we start investing, we start building up a business case, I think the opportunity will be lost. A second example, we have kind of not played the volume because this is actually in Vietnamese. Actually a couple of months back, we actually worked with a digital bank in Vietnam, and we brought this tech capability to them. So they launched the app where every time a customer transfers a fund, they will issue a micro policy to the customers. Of course, at the customer's consent and at the customer preference, exactly how I described to you earlier on about stackable insurance. So again, it comes back to the point, right? View of this as a capability and platform that you have built on. But at the individual organization level, at a different country, you may use it differently. But this case in point was that in Vietnam, we launched this very successfully in 3 months. And now their customers on the digital bank app has the ability to consume bite-sized insurance as and when they need it. In the next video, I'm just going to let it play. It's a short 2 to 3 minutes video. I know we are rushing for time, but this is how we think about, and this is exactly how we are doing omni-channel in Singapore. And I thought the video would probably best explain, and then later on I will share a little bit more. And we have the data analytics engine. Today in Singapore, obviously, income has almost about 2 over million of customers. Many of these customers are income customers. Once this lead comes in, we actually have the ability to map and to understand if they are our customers, what is their portfolio like today, and then we feed this information back to the agent before the agent even make the first call. So the agent no longer meet the customer's call. The agents will go knowing exactly where this customer come from. Did they come from an ecosystem? Did they come from an app? Did they come from a promotion? And then the conversation continues. These are all digital tools that you see. The omni-channel platform that I shared with you, very quickly, after the digital bank launch and we launched a subscription insurance, within 6 months, we begin to plug in our omni-channel platform. Now, this is a big step for us, right? Because today, I think many players are still looking at how do I work with a digital bank today. I'm very familiar with working a banca deal, right? How do I work with a digital bank? But today, we are plugged in to the Trust platform, and the Trust customers would then have the same ability. Hopefully, the video give you just a rough sense of things. They have the ability to transit from an online, which is the digital bank, via my omni-channel platform to reach a live agent. But all this is done digitally with a live agent, yeah? And today, very early results, which we have run only for the last 2 months, actually, to be honest. We generated about 4,000 leads and with almost 7% conversion. And today, is this number something poor? I think can be better. Is this number something bad? I was actually quite happy with it. Because I think today, if you look at your own website, maybe, even we think about organic leads, what is the conversion leads from, say, from somebody on your website trying to find life insurance to the time your agent convert, right? I think that would be the apple-to-apple number to compare, right? And I think this number could go slightly higher as we fine-tune the engine, as we continue to improve. So this is a one slide that was trying to be played on the video. And this is obviously a very complicated agent journey with our customers, right? But what we have put down is exactly all the digital tools that has been built that will facilitate this online to offline, right? And what is most important is a lot of these tools now are heavily backed by data analytics, heavily backed by the regulations. And what do I mean by that? As we know, this is a heavily regulated industry, and we do have the responsibility to make sure that the risks are being mitigated. And a lot of the time, when you start to digitize a journey, you actually realize that there's a lot of checks that you can be built in. It's no longer dependent on an agent to do a certain things. Because now you can build onto the journey, and this is actually things that it needs to be done, right? So this actually helped us to do that. Very mindful of time, I'm going to rush through this. This is just another example of a stackable embedded use case, which I want to share. We are embedded within the Grab drivers app in Singapore. And what this means is basically a Grab driver has a driver app. They goes into the app, we ask if you want to participate in critical illness. Very straightforward. They say yes, they answer some simple underwriting question, they are on. They tell me how much do you want to deduct after every time you collect a fee. What this means is, once you are into the program, a customer's book a Grab. If the fee is, say, $20, once the money comes into the driver's wallet, it will take away the fee to pay Grab, and it will deduct a sum that you have told me to deduct every time a ride happens. It can be 10 cents Singapore dollar, it can be $1, it's up to you, right? And then we would start to stack your critical illness for you, okay? We run this, and I must say it's a very, very successful program. This is our probably 3rd to 4th year now, was because we actually now have Grab drivers who hit a coverage of 200,000 Singapore dollars critical illness plan. And 3 years ago, when we first started, when I went down and interviewed the Grab drivers. The Grab drivers said this is the most important insurance for them, but they cannot afford it because the collection of the fee is very lumpy for gig workers. So I think this is where we design a plan where the consumers of a certain segment, if you recall what I said, this is a segment which you otherwise cannot reach. And this is a case in point where a product now reached the customers that we wanted. The next two slides I'm just going to speed through because this is really about non-life, but I just want to illustrate why is it important. In every country today, everybody is pushing for EV. And today, if you are not ready, then this is a huge opportunity because you need to think about how motor insurance is going to transform because it's going to no longer be the same, right? And in Singapore today, we have launched insurance by mileage. I think this is it's quite common in some countries. We charge insurance by per kilometer. Every kilometer you drive, we charge an insurance. But what EV market has brought us is today we have some two-wheelers motorcycles, and they do by swappable batteries. If you know, they go to a charging station, they don't have to charge, they take it out, they change the battery. And now I have a ability, because of the digital platform we have created, I have the ability to just check the difference in the battery, and I will know how much you have traveled, and because I know how much you have traveled, I can actually charge you the insurance that you incur. Right? This is really pushing the usage-based insurance to the max we can. I know this is not relevant to the live audience here, but I think it's really a case about what is happening in the market which change the way insurance is being think about and being perceived. I think in all the work that I've spoken about in Singapore and very sure in Indonesia and any parts of Southeast Asia, I think these are all important. The ecosystems, I cannot emphasize enough because today, all the young people today lead their lives in the one or two major digital ecosystems. And they do 80 to 90% of the activities there. If you have no chance of reaching them, then I think in the near future, in the next 5 to 10 years, I think you really need to think about the strategy forward because your product can no longer communicate to them. The customers, I think today customers is really discerning. They have a lot of choice. And every time before they start searching, they start surfing, who can serve me the best, right? And customer journeys and a good customer experience is, I cannot emphasize enough how important that would be. Insurers ourselves today, I think in the region, I collaborate with our friendly competitors, enabling the tech, enabling the product. I think this is where how industries come together and move the industries forward. I think this is really important. And in this slide, really, I want to call out a very important role that the regulators play, even in Singapore with MAS and OJK here. I think regulators' role here is extremely difficult because the job really is to progress the industry. But at the same time, you need to pace it such that the customers' interests are not being compromised. I think there lies this balance that it will be very hard to balance, right? But I think so far, I think the regulators that we have worked with has always been supportive to progress the industry. So I think this is where we think a collaborative effort of all the players here are important to make it successful. Okay, I have 5 minutes on the clock. I'll just rush through this. These are the 5 simple lessons that we thought useful to share with you. First and foremost, I think finding a partners are important, right? And I stress the word like-minded. I think today, if you go into a very distribution-centric type of partnership, then obviously that partnership would very reliant on just the distribution, right? But I think today, partnership goes beyond that. I think it goes into even a collaboration about what product will work for the partners. And this is no longer just the responsibility of the insurer, but it's about any partners that we work with, and especially the ecosystems. I sit down with the ecosystem partners on insurance product, and I find that they actually understand the customer much better because these are the customers that live and breathe on their ecosystem every day. Yeah? And this time, no problem. We should take the input, and then we manufacture the product. I think some of the earlier speakers have mentioned this about this whole ROI conversation, very straightforward. You want to start the digital transformation with an ROI conversation, I think it's unlikely you get started. I think let's be very clear, right? But what kind of timeline do you put behind this? And what kind of measurements you put behind this? Now, all of you here probably run a very, very successful live business, right? Today, you start digital, and you say, oh, this is hardly 1% of the revenue of what I can do today. Of course, because we take years to build up this business. Let's not forget about that. Even for myself, for income, we took 52 years to build up the business. But today, if the digital insurance today, within the 5 years, you can do, I don't know, 5%, 7%, is it a poor number? Absolutely not. And the speed will continue to accelerate because you are aided by the macro environment factors, and this is going to help you. The consumer behaviors is going to help you, right? So I think this is important. So I don't really mean it to measure like a startup, but I think for any startup today, the measurement is very different. They look at the unit economics, obviously, but they need to look at, am I reaching the right segment? And is my product showing relevance to the segment? And you start to see people coming in, you start to see the product affecting a niche group of people. I think that is important, and that is a traction that you see. But not against your traditional revenue number and you say, oh, deciding this is a successful or not. I think that's important. Third, I think this whole digital transformation title sounds very sexy, but trust me, it is not, absolutely not, right? And a lot of time we say, oh yeah, why not we just get started? We have the appetite for this. No, right? Appetite is not enough. You need to have the stomach for it, right? Because every quarter, you probably have to justify the investment you make. Every quarter, I have to justify, am I reaching the segment that I do? And a lot of this time, it is a calculated bet. I don't even know how it will turn out, right? But you need to know, you need to fine-tune every day, and you shape your product, you shape your customers, you shape your communications. And until the day you start to see a certain traction, you double down, right? So I think this is a very important one. So don't just start because you have an appetite for it, but you make sure you think you can go through that because it's a long journey. Fourthly, I think in this area of work versus, say, running a core business, I think it calls for a very different attitude. The main difference is there's no right or wrong here. A different role will call for different things. I think when you're running a core business, you always think about present forward, meaning how do I make this claim process better? How do I make this marketing message even better? So you think about present and then how do you improve? But if you think about digital transformation, sometimes you really need to have a future back. You've got to think from the endpoint, how does it look like? How would I want my customer to consume my product? And then you start working towards it, right? They always say, right, you cannot look at a horse and then you can improve into a car. No way. You've got to think about a car in a different way. Then you can have that kind of improvement, right? So I think this is important for digital transformation work. Okay, last but not least, I think as an insurer myself for 52 years in Singapore, we love this. We like to build everything ourselves because we think everything is an IP that cannot be shared. But I think in today's context, things have changed. Things really have changed. I really encourage you to think about it. There will be things you think you should build. I think absolutely nobody is stopping you. What are the core competencies you should build? But go very quickly. What are the things you can borrow? You can work with partners. What are the things you should buy, pay a service? There's a lot of service providers, right? What are the things you don't have to own, right? Then you really cut down your CAPEX. You just run OPEX, right? You just start paying the services and then you ramp up. And at some point, you can change your mind, right? It doesn't matter. If you think, hey, now this is something that I need to in-house, I need to build this, then go to the build. But don't start off with saying, I need to own everything, and everything needs to be built by me. I think that, if nothing else, it just don't give you speed. I think in today's world, velocity is important. Ability to go to market and learn is important. So I think this is hopefully 5 simple points over a work of 6 years that I hope is useful to you. I'm mindful of time. Time's up here. So I will end my presentation here, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Bapak Ibu, keren banget ya. Actually, very sharp and blow our mind and make us aware, and our time is now. Panitia, Bapak Ibu, are you aware with us? Just give us another 5 minutes. Maybe is there any question from Bapak Ibu? Is there any question? No? If not, maybe one just summarize for us, Peter, how to start it. If you see Indonesia, you just show to us that there is a potential very huge to us to implement it. You already started and you learn how to speed up if we will implement it in Indonesia to speed up the processes, because you already learned the downfall, the faster process, how to implement it in Indonesia to shorten the process.
So maybe there's obviously no right answer here. But how I think about this is that, first and foremost, I think before you adopt digital transformation, the core business must be running well, right? Hypothetically, if you are in a business where today your core business is struggling, and you say, let's invest in digital to bring back this business, don't. Please don't do it. Because I think you will be stressed both sides. I think what's important is always invest from a position of strength. Today, if your business are running, humming along well, you know exactly what you're getting, why not you start investing in digital transformation? And the idea is to get started, right? And then you start to pace it. Because it is very hard to say, oh, does this whole thing going to cost me 100 million? Or is this going to cost me 1 billion? Nobody knows, right? But how do you get started is you begin to gain some confidence for your organization, and you begin to make yourself more relevant to the new customers base that you're talking to. So my one word of thing is that as long as your organization at this point is doing well, I think there's no better time to start. And then you learn, because seeing a deck of slides is like that, right? But I think the moment you go through it, I think the learning is really invaluable. I think that's all I think.
Thank you. Now, no better time to start. Don't just wait until you have the appetite, as long as you have stomach. Okay, Bapak Ibu, give big round of applause for Peter. And
Thank you.
would like to invite Bapak Edi Tuhirman. Bapak Edi Tuhirman.
Thank you.
Bapak Edi Tuhirman to give the token appreciation. Peter, it's amazing. Thank you so much.